You're listening to The Front Porch Show. Some shows are niche shows, talking about specific topics. Others, shows about nothing. This show is the show about everything. On The Front Porch Show, we'll talk about current events, some news, a little bit of politics, along with a whole lot of life. Welcome to our Front Porch. 1-402-799-1811 is our message line number. You can reach us also on the web at www.thefrontporchshow.com. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I don't know, every other weird social media site out there. We probably have some sort of presence on it. I am joined today by not Jeff, not Tombstone, but Alyssa. They ditched me this weekend, so
yeah.
Sorry. Say hello again. There you go.
Hello there, everybody.
I didn't have you potted up. I'm sorry. Oh, that sounded bad. We're so close to Colorado. That sounded bad. We're gonna have to rephrase that, I guess. No. So they ditched us today. So instead of you in your producerial role, sitting across the desk, making sure that we get accurate information, you're actually volunteering your voice.
Yes, and it's been a while.
It has. I was trying to think about when it was, and I couldn't remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
So
should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Check us out. Check us out on the web. Check out the Facebook page. We love when you folks comment and send us new news stories on the Facebook page. That's always a blast. We love it when you give us a call on the message line number. I think later on today, I've still got to double check that. We may actually have a message on the message line that we
need to check.
So that'll be fun. We've got tons of news stories. We got a lot about Trump today, which should be fun. We've got tariffs with Mexico.
Yep.
Tariffs with China.
Yep.
We've got Molecules of Freedom. Have you heard about those?
I have not heard about Molecules of Freedom.
We'll talk about Molecules of Freedom. Now, the one story I was hoping that Tombstone was here for was the article that I found out of South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Where the wife smashed the mason jar into her husband's head because their AC was out.
Oh, man. I can relate.
Really? You can relate. You smacked me in the head with a mason jar.
No,
right?
I can relate to the AC being out.
Oh, well, yeah, right.
And being frustrated. Probably not to the point of smashing somebody with a mason jar, though.
I would hope not, but, there's other things I probably should be smashing the head with a mason jar for. I wanted to start out, though. So we had this article come across the desk that, if you remember 2 weeks ago, Jeff made the hilarious comment about the drug dealer who, must have had Hot Pockets coursing through his veins.
Yeah, that was a great
For the second time in 2 weeks, we have another drug dealer, 42-year-old Kirk Linnell Smith, who had to be brought to the hospital for sentencing in an ambulance because that was the only way they could transport him, because he is coming in at over 600 pounds.
He had to be brought in the loading dock.
Yes, in the loading dock. They didn't actually take him off the. They didn't actually take him off the ambulance, but they
just arraigned him right there.
I don't quite understand this, and maybe I'm just not. I'm a big guy, but I'm not even close to 600 pounds. So I guess I'm having this mental conniption over how is someone an active drug dealer when they are that overweight? When
they can't get around very well?
Right, when they can't even actually move.
Right.
I mean, this guy, so we've got a picture of him. We've got a picture of the poor guy. Obviously, he's got some issues somewhere along the lines, but you can't see his legs.
Yeah, barely.
You can't see his legs because they're, it's it's got to be a medical condition or something. I mean,
I'm sure that has something to do with it.
But I mean, then there's the other, spoon to mouth disease.
Yes, but apparently he figured out a way he could make a living despite his disability. Just it wasn't in the right line of work.
Right. So this isn't the first time he's been arrested. Actually, he's been in jail for drug possession and selling for a while. I mean, Unfortunately,
interesting.
due to his weight, he was only able to give 1 or 2 word answers to the judge's questions. Or, excuse me, to the reporter.
Due to his weight.
Yeah, due to his weight, he just couldn't.
So he can't talk either?
Apparently, he was unable to make a statement when he tried to make one, when he was asked.
Yeah. How is somebody like that? I mean, is he just the middleman? Like,
yeah, but what is he doing?
I don't know.
2018, they searched Smith's Carthage home, found a backpack containing cocaine, an amount indicative of trafficking, which who knows what that means.
Yeah.
No, it's just an arbitrary way that if you are caught with that, that means you're trafficking it. A loaded 9mm handgun. And yeah, so that's what they found. So he was convicted of cocaine trafficking in 2009, sentenced 3 years, I think it was, in prison. And he also has cocaine convictions back in 1999. So he's a known item to the Cincinnati Hamilton County Police.
Yeah.
So just so weird.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, I was looking here. Oh, I can't find the article. I was looking. Oh no, I found the article. The other guy was Kenneth Hicks. He was 48 of Emporia. He was arrested in Henrico County, which I think Jeff said that was South Carolina or Virginia. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I think Virginia.
So would that be possession with the intent to distribute?
What do you mean?
What he was arrested on?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Because they thought that he was going to sell it. Mm-hmm. But I don't see how he could get up and go sell it to anyone.
Well, maybe he was just like the drop spot. He was the distributor.
I could make an awful lot of jokes about things getting dropped that he couldn't find. But
I mean, obviously, he's pretty stationary.
He is. You could almost call him a fixture in the community.
Probably, yes. And no one would
So I know this is
going to sound,
This is going to sound really weird and really disgusting, but how does he go to the bathroom?
We don't ask those questions.
You can't. You can't.
A catheter. Baggy. I don't know.
How do you clean? How do you ew.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a trigger that goes off in your head though when you get to a certain point and you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Or you're just stuck in that it's too bad to fix. It's overwhelming.
But you bring up a really good point with that though. So the back when the soldiers were coming home from the Vietnam War, a lot of soldiers came back while they were over in the war zone, they had addictions to a myriad of things, mostly opiates and stuff.
Yeah.
But when they came back here to the States, because of the change in scenery and environment, all of a sudden everything changed for them.
Yeah.
And so I think you have a really good point there when you say, he got stuck in this loop of just a spiral of bad decisions.
Yeah.
And so, you've got this guy here who drug addiction, obviously.
Right.
Cocaine addiction, and then, obviously food addiction.
Which, I mean, for someone like that who is stuck in that body, I could see where that would be an escape, for him. Well,
right. No, I understand. But it's how do you break that cycle? How do you get them out of that mindset, out of that? I mean, I don't know.
So here's another weird question.
Yeah.
Does it matter how much you weigh for how drugs impact you? I know with alcohol, if you weigh more, it takes more to impact you. Maybe it just needed that much. Maybe he was not distributing.
Maybe he wasn't actually trafficking.
Yeah. Maybe he just needed that much to get a buzz because of his body weight.
That's a good question. I think those are questions that will probably continue to be asked for a long time. And since he obviously isn't talking,
which, maybe the other guy, that was the same thing.
Maybe they weren't trafficking. Maybe they just were maybe they just needed a lot. I don't know. back. You know, some stories you just avoid when Jeff and Tombstone are here.
Yep.
But there is a miracle baby out of Missouri. Quote unquote miracle baby.
Right.
Okay? So this you know, you hear stories about this stuff happening, right? Where, you know, someone, after they've already had their kids, they get tied, if you will.
Yeah.
And they don't ever have kids again.
Right.
And for whatever reason they do that, I understand that there's some medical reasons that they might have that done or whatever. Well, this woman had a procedure done where both of the fallopian tubes were completely removed.
Right.
100% removed. As in, doctors on the report said they were laying on the table. And everything was completely taken care of.
Right.
Unfortunately for Elizabeth Clough, how would you say that? K-O, cough. Elizabeth Cough. She tested positive on a home testing kit. This is 3 years after she had had both of her tubes removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's 39 years old. She says she was completely freaked out. They went to the hospital, and there another test confirmed she was pregnant. She wanted an ultrasound done, because she was afraid that the embryo was somewhere lodged in her abdominal cavity somewhere, which is physically impossible.
Right.
Physically impossible for a child to grow outside of the uterus. But there they found the baby.
Yeah.
There they found the baby. Gave birth North Kansas City Hospital in March to a healthy 7-pound, 6-ounce baby named Benjamin.
Yeah, so looking a little further down, it's interesting because it says that she did have full removal of the fallopian tubes, not partial. There are like studies for partial removal where there is a chance still for you to get pregnant. But because it's so extremely rare with complete removal, there's not even...
Well, there
isn't really data on it.
There is no data because it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. There was one, I guess, in 2005 and one in 2008. And so, I mean, it had to have made a jump. They call it a trans-peritoneal migration.
Right.
In which somehow it jumped.
From the,
Which I thought it was all tied off anyways in there. Like when they do that, they tie it off. They don't just remove it. They like cauterize it and...
Yeah, I'm not sure how... So it would have needed to escape and jump.
Escape, jump, and then create an access to get into...
Right.
It's just so amazing.
So, I mean, it is miraculous in a sense that the odds are incredibly stacked
to
against.
Show you what, you know, back to my religious roots.
Yeah.
God is the giver and taker of life.
Yeah.
And we can try all that we want to prevent it, but it's going to happen.
Ultimately, it's in his hands, and if he wants to create a life, he will.
Absolutely. No, just absolutely amazing.
And this baby was meant to be.
Yeah, right? They thought at first it was a botched surgery, but no, they were pretty sure that it wasn't.
Yeah, they checked everything.
It's I mean, what do you go through? Like, how do you process that? I mean, she's got 3 kids already.
Right. And mentally, like, she's done.
Right. I mean, had the tubes removed. She thought she was done. She thought it was good.
Right.
She thought it was... But yeah, she's got 3 kids, 17, 11, and 9.
But yeah, I mean, I applaud her
0.
for, dealing with it and dealing with the situation.
Right. Having the baby and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. kind of blown away by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just crazy.
Yeah, it just goes to show no matter how much we know about medicine, there are always, factors we can't explain involved.
Honestly, that is what really concerns me with the whole abortion debate.
Yeah.
I mean, so think about it. Think about it from this standpoint. Back 200 years ago, back even 150 years ago, we seem to think that putting leeches on people and sucking out their blood was a great thing.
Right.
Back at the founding of our country, bleeding people out,
right,
was a good thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's things, we believe now that are going to be disproven in the future as well.
And I mean, things have been
because we're constantly, learning.
Right. I was talking with someone recently. I don't remember who it was, but back in the day, they used to go in and clean out people's knees, orthoscopically.
Yeah.
And now they're suggesting that shouldn't even happen. You should not go in there and clean it out because all you're doing is removing padding.
Right.
And it's just you're going to end up with new knees much sooner.
Right.
And it's like, man,
yeah,
just crazy stuff. And so, so take for instance the abortion debate. Back when Roe v. Wade was passed, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was not a known scientific fact that the heart was beating at 18 days.
Right.
It was not a known scientific fact that DNA existed.
Right.
From conception.
Yeah.
Just numerous little things like that, and you're like, oh man, we have come so far since then.
Yeah, we've learned a lot.
It's absolutely obvious that this child is a human now when it's conceived.
Yeah.
It's a person. It is a life form.
Yeah.
And now, now everything that has been previously status quo in our country is theoretically being upended. I mean, you've got, Alabama. We talked about it last week on the show, or 2 weeks ago on the show, with the Alabama abortion legislation that, they're pushing for personhood.
Right.
Determining that person is a person.
Yeah.
Not a pump of cells, not a...
Right.
Which, all it takes is one quick look at the ultrasound and you can see that. It's obvious.
Right.
But, it's just one of those things that our perception of our perception of what's true in the medical world changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day, you chopped off arms when they were injured.
Yeah, which,
you didn't try to fix them.
Back in the day, they didn't have the ability necessarily to always fix them either.
There was, right. Well, that's what I'm saying, but the medical know-how wasn't there. We've got this beautifully advanced medical system nowadays that none of this stuff is, none of the barbaric stuff that we participate in right now is necessary. And yet we still participate in quite a few barbaric acts in our medical world.
Yes, we do.
And it's just like, man, I want to come back, and I want to talk more about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I want to talk about Netflix and Disney all coming out against Georgia because of the abortion legislation. Some interesting double standards have unfolded, and I think it'd be cool to take a look at those.
Sounds good.
See what we think.
Yeah.
We'll be right back, guys.
It was not always a given that the United States and America would have a close relationship.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
It's Mr. McMillan. Would you like 30 seconds more?
Allow me to introduce myself. The rent's too damn high.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Thank you. Oh, Mr. McMillan. We are back, obviously. I wanted to take you to Georgia. So Georgia just passed a bill, another similar abortion bill to Alabama. I believe it's 6 weeks. Abortions cannot be completed after 6 weeks of pregnancy in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, and
so cool. I'm completely behind the ban. I think, thank God, we finally have bans like these. I know it sounds absolutely morbid, but I hope this drives abortions to the back alleys where if people think they need to get them done, they do it however they want in the back alleys. This should not be public. This should not be a scourge on our society. It's wrong. It's immoral. And we are killing people. And so I think that just like murder and every other decrepit moral failing that we embark on as a society needs to be driven back to the back alleys where it belongs. So, all that said, Netflix and Disney are wanting to boycott Georgia. Now, Georgia has appeared as this almost Hollywood number 2 in our country.
Yeah.
New York, a lot of TV shows in New York.
Right.
But when it comes to movies, it's Hollywood, or it's Georgia.
Yeah.
Louisiana's got some cool stuff going on too. But Louisiana just passed Louisiana passed a complete ban on abortion. And so you've got this issue here with Disney and everything, and Netflix, who are like, well, I guess we can't refilm in places like Georgia because of the anti-abortion law.
Right.
But here's the funny thing. Disney, you got Disney, Universal, CBS, Showtime, and Warner Media calling for boycotts on Georgia, as well as Netflix. The problem is this. Netflix is stepping up production in the Middle East.
Interesting.
What does the Middle East do? The Middle East issues death warrants for homosexuals. And guess what? Abortion is illegal.
Yeah.
It has two other shows are produced in Jordan. Jinn and Al Arabi School for Girls or something.
Interesting.
Jordan restricts abortion in all cases except in cases where life or mental health of the mother is at risk. People face imprisonment, which none of these laws that have been passed in Georgia have ever threatened to throw the mother in prison.
Right. Just the doctor.
Just the doctor.
Yeah.
Just the doctor. Okay. So let's be absolutely clear with that.
Yeah, it doesn't criminalize the women.
Guess what? Jordan also provided locations for parts of Disney's Aladdin, which just came out.
Right.
Egyptian penal code here of 1937 bans abortion in all circumstances. But criminal law allows flexibility on the grounds of necessity.
Yeah. It's interesting because I wonder if they rationalize it by saying, it's a different culture. We can't expect them to live by the same standards we do. But at the same time, if they say that, they're basically saying we're better than they are.
Or is it just pure hypocrisy?
Oh, well, yes, but I'm saying
they justify
it. They have to justify it in some way.
They have to.
And I mean, that's just a guess. I don't know how they
do you know why everyone's leaving Hollywood and going to Georgia? Because the taxes are lower.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's a conservative state.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Right.
Except for the sprawling liberal bastion of Atlanta, it is widely very conservative. And so you've got this conservative state that's attracting business because of conservative policies. Right. And now you've got Disney and all these other people ticked off because I don't like their policy on such and such. You've had actresses come out, oh, I'm not going to film there now because,
right,
my body. It's like, it's not your body that you're killing here.
Right.
This whole argument, it really, really ticks me off that the child is a parasite.
Mm-hmm.
all they sit there and they're like, oh, the child is a parasite. And it's like, hold on. A parasite involuntarily invades your body. A parasite involuntary to you attaches itself to you and sucks off your body.
Right.
I'm sorry to say this, but if you're having a baby, for the most part, in 99% of cases, there were two willing participants.
Yeah. And it wasn't the baby's choice either to be put there.
That's right. It wasn't like the baby made a cognitive decision to go there.
With a parasite, obviously.
Well, a parasite, in most cases, the parasite makes the decision to go there.
Yeah.
And so this child is not a parasite. You brought it into this world. You are now responsible for it because of your actions. This is just another episode of people not wanting to have to own their actions. And I am absolutely sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
There is nothing that makes me more livid than people not owning their actions. And this is why they want abortion. Look, I have said it before. I will say it again until I'm absolutely blue in the face. Rape and incest abortions are less than 1% of the abortions performed.
Right.
Okay? This is not about them.
Yeah.
When they sit there and they say, oh, I want abortions for rape and incest, that's absolute bullcrap.
And it's an emotional plea.
It is an emotional plea to try to win the people over win conservatives over to their side, which in classical Judaism, though, and in old Christian belief, those were the only two exceptions to have an abortion.
Right.
Okay. But like it or not, or in the life of the mother and abortion, in the life of the mother and in rape, were the two exceptions that they allowed abortion. We are not talking about that in 99% of the cases. We are talking about elective abortion where someone was too stupid to use protection, which is readily available.
Yes.
Absolutely readily available. So when they say, my body, my choice, I need access to birth control, they are not saying they want access to birth control. They are saying they want access to guilt-free sex with whoever they want at whatever time they want, and have no consequences to that sex.
Which our society is really at that point where...
Yes, absolutely.
Sex is elevated to that.
Absolutely. And I'm absolutely sick of it. And my hat is off to these 8, 10, 12 states that are finally saying, you know what? We're going to stand up against this. And you can, there's other ways to prevent pregnancy.
Yes.
There are other ways. I know people who don't use birth control and don't get pregnant. Do you know how? They actually know their bodies.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, people, that we are this advanced of a society. We claim all the knowledge in the world. We claim that we're the smartest nation. We claim that we're the greatest at everything. Just ask our president. And we still allow this barbaric act to happen. Okay?
Yeah. And we rationalize.
We rationalize it as it's for the rape victims. It's for the rape victims and for the health of the mother. Right. Which is less than 1% of the situation.
Which the new laws that were made give allowance for
not in Alabama.
Life and death situation.
I don't believe, now I'm not sure, I have not looked into the law 100%. That may be the only exception in Alabama, is the life of the mother. The intent of the Alabama law is to get to the Supreme Court and rewrite personhood.
Right. It's an extreme law.
It's an absolute extreme law done for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's going there. ACLU has already said they're challenging it. Now, so listen to this. We're talking about Supreme Court. My blood pressure is through the roof already. Whew. Okay. U.S. Supreme Court upheld an Indiana abortion law that requires aborted fetuses to be disposed of in the same way as human remains. That means they can't just be dumped in a jar or in a bucket in a 55-gallon drum and disposed of as medical waste. The justices declined to uphold a second provision, which would prevent a woman in Indiana from having an abortion based on the fetus's gender, race, or disability, which is interesting. Very interesting on that one.
Yeah.
So wait, let me see. How does that read? The justices declined to uphold a second provision which would prevent. I want to know who went against that one. Because anyways, Justice Thomas supported the sex-selective and disability abortion ban, which would have made it illegal for abortion providers in Indiana to perform abortions in which cases they knew the mother was seeking to abort solely because of the child's race, sex, diagnosis of Down syndrome, disability, or related characteristics. Okay, now, this is where it's interesting. Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she finally speaks. Tombstone, if you're listening, she's still alive. Okay, she's still alive. She's speaking here.
That we know of.
She says, a woman who exercises her constitutionally protected right to terminate a pregnancy is not a mother.
Can you say that again?
A woman who exercises her constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy is not a mother.
Okay.
So, what Ginsburg is saying is that the women who terminate their pregnancies are not mothers.
So you're not a mother until the baby's in your arms. Is that
there you
where
go.
She's going with that?
There you go. So think about the implications of that comment. Think about the implications, the long-term implications of where we're going as a country.
Philosophically.
Philosophically, yes. With what Alabama is trying to do with their abortion law of proving personhood. You can't, remember what the excuse is. We're trying to protect the life of the mother.
Right.
We're trying to help we're trying to help mothers who can't afford to become mothers. They're always pulling at the heartstrings. They're always going for that, mother.
Using that word.
Ginsburg realizes that they can no longer use that word anymore. Because the woman is not a mother.
Right, they can't argue that
because the thing growing inside of her is not a baby, according to their view.
Right.
It's got huge implications here.
Yeah, I think the core problem. I've heard a lot of arguments, from the side of, if you don't consent to it happening in your body, then, it's your right.
Well, the whole parasite. Well, you consented when you were screwing. Did I just say that? I probably shouldn't have said that.
Well, that's really the core issue. It really is. It's separating sex entirely from procreation.
Well, that was the issue with second wave feminism, though.
Right.
Second wave feminism is a scourge on our society.
And they're basically saying you do not consent to have a baby when you have sex.
Right. Right. No, exactly.
Meaning that's not a purpose of sex.
Right.
Unless you want it to be.
Exactly. I heard something. I heard a very interesting interview with a scientist, I think it was, talking about gene editing and stuff, and his prediction, I guess he was a futurist. His prediction was that in 50 years, most children will, like 90% of children will be conceived in labs.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because he thinks that with the way medical advances are, that we will be able to screen embryos for diseases and then all of a sudden not have those embryos.
Just pick the...
Which then again brings that giant ethical question.
Yeah.
That as a society we're going to have to deal with. Yeah. Is an embryo a life? An embryo is a it's a conceived egg.
Yeah.
Is that a life? Is it not a life until it's implanted?
And I mean,
is it not a life until there's a heartbeat? I mean, where does that line drawn?
And at the core, that is a philosophical question.
There was
not a medical question.
There was a court case a couple of years ago of husband-wife divorce situation. Guy wanted the embryos disposed of.
Yeah.
Because his wife had in vitro.
Yeah.
And they didn't use all the embryos. He wanted the embryos disposed of. She wanted the possibility of having more kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think the interesting thing with the embryo debate is that embryos can be frozen.
Right.
And so you've got embryos there that Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so weird.
It is weird.
It's such a weird thing.
Going back to the whole consent thing, the other thought I had about that is if you follow through with that and you say when you have sex you consent, if you consent to sex, you consent to the possibility of a baby.
Yes.
That makes rape the exception.
Yes, it does.
Because you do not consent to the sex.
Yes, yes.
And you do not consent to the possibility of a baby.
I said this on the show a couple weeks ago, though, and God forbid you take this the wrong way, but if you were raped, I would raise that child.
Yeah.
I would.
And I would keep a baby. Like,
yes, I would. Because it's not that child's fault that the pervert who did that to you did it to you.
Right.
You know, and it's not your fault either. But at the same time,
yes,
you can't punish a third party for something they had nothing to do with.
Right.
You just can't do it. It's wrong.
Yes.
And so I understand the exception.
Yeah. And
I understand the exception.
I can understand, giving the mother the right to choose in that situation.
Yes. But I am absolutely opposed to that.
Personally, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I know what my choice would be.
Right. Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when these abortion laws start hitting the Supreme Court. Because the court's going to have to decide. Unfortunately, you've got Roberts, who seems to vote pretty liberal at times, and Kavanaugh seems to be, shot in the dark. We don't really know what he's thinking. Gorsuch seems obviously to lean conservative.
Yeah.
And so,
and we're at 9 states now.
It may actually be more than that now, but I'm not sure.
I have Utah, Missouri, Kentucky, Ohio, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia.
So that's 9, yeah. For some reason, I thought it was 12. I think 12 might have restrictive laws, though. But
could be.
That being said, Nebraska, our home state, what you doing?
Nothing yet.
What you doing? About time. It's about time we started doing something on this.
Yep.
I mean, let's put our money where our mouths are.
Yeah, which the mouths are very vocal in this state.
Right.
Against abortion.
Which is funny. It comes back down to having a weak governor. Absolute weak governor who doesn't want to take a stand on anything because you want to get elected next time.
She said, "Oh man, the building is on fire." I said, "No, what? I got my 3 kids and we bounced out. We ain't gonna be in no fire, not today."
The fact that they purchased the machine meant somebody had to make the machine. And when somebody makes a machine, it means there's jobs at the machine making place.
But glad to get out of here with a win. This is a tough place to do it. And, once in a while, a pirate can beat a soldier,
I don't know about that, but the Bandits beat the something last night.
The Wichita Force.
Oh, the Wichita Force. That was good fun last night. So last night we went to a what do you call it? It's an arena football league game. Yeah, it was actually really fun. So they set up in this particular arena, I guess. It's on a ice skating rink. And obviously there's no ice. Yeah. And they lay out, it's 50 yards. Yeah, it's 50 yards between end zones. And they play football. They've got smaller end zones. The field is obviously half as wide. But yeah, it was a blast. We showed up last night to the game and found our seats. Not a ton of people there. I'd say there's a couple thousand. Probably 2,000 to 3,000 people total, I think.
Yeah.
And they had everything all set up, ready to roll. We walked in, there's trucks sitting on the field, advertisers, who, as they were introducing the teams, and the boys just had an absolute blast because, there's trucks on the field.
Yeah.
Myron, 3.5 years old, and Trevor, 1.5. I mean, they absolutely love that stuff. So we sat there, watched the game. It's just a great experience, great family-friendly experience.
Yeah, it was really fun.
The mascot was a little creepy, I got to tell you. Trevor wasn't too much of a fan of the mascot, but
yeah, it kind of scared him a little bit.
But that it's a big, tall guy. It's a bandit.
Yeah.
Big, curly Q mustache at the ends. He obviously the suit was about 4 foot taller than the guy actually was inside. But that only made it funner. But Myron was tickled to see the guy in the suit.
Yeah,
he got to throw a ball back and forth.
He was nervous at first.
He was a little bit. He was like, "What in the world is that?"
Yeah.
And so as the mascot was making his way across the area, he finally got up the courage to meet him.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that the guys were just kind of chilling on the sidelines,
they were very
talking to folks, and so between every time there was a touchdown, they did some special thing.
Yeah, like a game or something.
A game, or they threw out T-shirts. Halftime, they had a huge thing going on. I think the first touchdown, they had a hot dog race.
Yes.
Where 3 kids dressed up as hot dogs got in hot dog mascot costumes and ran around the field.
Yep.
That was fun. There was, of course, the blimp. That was the coolest part, I think.
Yeah.
The blimp floating over
indoor blimp.
Yeah, indoor blimp floating over the stadium, dropping goodies. I don't even know what the goodies were, but they were gift cards or something.
Yeah.
That I thought was pretty slick. But yeah, it was great. After the guy jumped up in the stands and went up and sat next to the kid for a while. That was just hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that works. That's all part of the good fun.
Yeah, it was just much more personal and
yeah. I mean, we've been to a preseason game with the Patriots.
Yeah.
In the Meadowlands, or not Meadowlands. Wow, Gillette Stadium. So sorry. I'm so sorry, Patriots fans. I apologize. No, so yeah, we've been up there and in Foxborough, and that was a great experience, but
yeah,
it was nowhere near as personal.
No, even though it was a preseason game,
right?
It was not as intense as I'm sure
and even
actual season games.
Even Red Sox games we had been to in Fenway Park. It's just it's not as this was fun. This is a family friendly fun event.
Yeah, it definitely
until
was.
the three guys in the front row started heckling the other team. They crawled down to sit right on the end zone line and heckle folks. But no, it was a fun time.
Yeah. And I was looking, there's actually quite a few indoor football leagues. There's a lot of them. The Sioux City Bandits are part of the Champions Indoor Football.
Okay.
And it's not a huge league by any means.
I believe. Oh, what is his name? Gene Simmons owns a team in Los Angeles, I believe.
Yep. With arena football or whatever. Yeah, there's an arena football league and there's an indoor football league and there's all kinds of different.
Right.
Which one is this? Yeah, indoor football league. There's a team in Grand Island.
Interesting. Well, it makes sense if you got the stadium.
The Nebraska Danger.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And, yeah.
No, it's fun. It's just good fun for the whole family. I mean, the kids had a blast. They stayed up way too late, which, that kind of showed itself in church this morning. So we're sitting there in church, and most Sundays, Alyssa and I are serving somewhere in the church. It's one of those things that we always do, always have done, ever since Vermont and ever since childhood.
Yeah.
We have been so involved in ministry and in serving in our church that, whatever church we are involved in, we are involved. And so, Alyssa plays piano. You can see her Sunday mornings on our live stream most Sunday mornings, or a couple Sunday mornings a week if you're ever curious about watching that.
You mean a month?
Look at fcnorfolk.com. What did I say? A week? Oh, sorry.
There's usually just one Sunday in a week.
Right. Good point. So, but they could go back and watch all the historical episodes.
Well, they could.
Right. So fcnorfolk.com. You can go to current series and watch those if you ever want to see what Alyssa looks like. She'll be on the keys. And I normally video direct or I help with the courtesy team. And so somewhere we're typically busy, but this Sunday was an exception. And I mean, you had kids ministry second service.
Yeah.
So we both went to first service together. We dropped Trevor off in the nursery, and Myron, you and I went to sit in the worship service.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, for fourth row, because typically we like to sit on an end just to make sure we can get Myron out of there if there's ever an issue.
Myron likes to be up front.
And Myron likes to be up front so we can see, which is fine. That's absolutely great.
I usually
love it.
sit front row with him if it's just me and him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's great. I just don't want to be so exposed on that front row. And the front row is not as comfortable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, when you have to drag your child screaming out of the auditorium.
Well, exactly. So we're sitting there, and Myron sings the first two songs with us, and everything's great. And Tim, our pastor, gets up there, and Myron decides that he wants to stay through Tim's preaching, but he doesn't want to listen to Tim. So Tim, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. He sits there and he plugs his ears as Tim starts preaching. And then somehow he navigated onto your lap.
Yeah, and a minute later he decides, I want to listen. I just don't want to see Tim. So that's why he lays down on my
And so then he lays down on your lap. But at the same time, he's plugging his ears and unplugging his ears. Plugging his ears and unplugging his ears. And then the feet start moving.
Yeah.
And the feet swing up completely vertical. 90 degree vertical. Nearly clipping the guy in the back of the head in front of you.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling the looks coming from behind us. And I'm just...
You were done.
I was mortified. And so his feet come down. We told him no. His feet came down. And then he looks me straight in the eye. And the feet start going up again. That's when I was done. That's when the straw broke the camel's back. And so I took him by the hand. I said, Myron, we're leaving now. And of course, he didn't want to leave then.
Yeah.
He didn't want to sit through Tim's preaching. Sorry, Tim. Love you, man. Didn't want to sit through Tim's preaching, but he didn't want to leave either.
Yeah.
So I take him by the hand and we start walking out. And of course, it's amazing. It's amazing what happens with a 3.5-year-old. Their legs don't work. It's like a switch goes off. Their legs don't work and they crumble to the ground. And so I'm sitting there bringing him up the aisle by the hand. His legs, Daddy, my legs, Daddy, my legs, Daddy. Finally, we get to the back row and he collapses.
Yeah.
And starts hollering. Now, mind you, Tim is up there starting preaching. And is hollering in the back of the church.
Which, if you're the parent, you feel like everyone hears it as loud as you do, and that it's like the most annoying and disrupting thing on the face of the planet.
It was probably not as loud as I thought it was, but it sure felt like it was incredibly loud.
It wasn't that bad, and it was pretty quick.
And so he collapses. I reach down, grab him, throw him over my shoulder, fireman carry style, and I start hauling out the back. Now, this is where the moment of clarity comes in on my part. I'm like, oh man, people are going to see me hauling out this child fireman style. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So it was probably only a dozen steps or less that I then dropped him back down, regular carry, and I carried him out. Instead of flailing over my shoulder, just carried him out the doors. No, someone saw it, and
the right person
saw it. It was too perfect. Too perfect. Saw me throw Myron over my shoulder and haul him out. And
he loved it.
It wasn't just him, though. Several other people were like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Just throw the kid over your shoulder and go.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel vindicated for next time. Absolutely feel vindicated for next time. So, but man, so only like 3 or 4 people said something to me after the service.
Just 3 or 4?
Just 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Which means,
And everyone there knows Myron, so.
Well, right. Mr. Extrovert himself has to greet everyone every Sunday. Yeah, everyone knows Myron, so this was a big deal. When I got him to his class, he ran right in and started participating.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, he participated fine with the kids, but he wouldn't talk to any adults. That was the word that I got.
That's funny.
So what do you do with him? I mean, like 4 going on, or 3.5 going on, 15.
Let them sleep.
Well, that's what they're doing now. That's why we're on the air.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
For example, the first thing that we make now, instead of a cuckoo clock, see, this is a poo-poo clock. And what we did see is we took them turds and we crammed them in between the number there, so that's 130, 230, 330. The turds are all local. We just go out and track the moose, and wherever the moose are, they're going to take a crap. And I have found that when a moose takes a dump, you walk about 50 yards in any direction and they take another dump. And when a moose takes a dump, they'll crap out between 200 and 400 turds every time they take a crap. So it's like I get $5 a turd for these things. So I get jumping right up and down. I get excited when I see a turd.
Sometimes you can't pick a more perfect intro to a story, Alyssa. I don't even know exactly how to intro this, but other than say Kanye West may possibly be insane.
It's a possibility.
Which, given the rant he gave in the White House, it's very possible. You remember the rant he gave? He was sitting across the desk from the president in front of the media, and he literally was holding court in the White House Oval Office.
Yes.
And the president's just sitting there as a secondary character.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man.
He's pretty full of himself.
You've got Mr. Number One, President Trump, sitting right there, and Kanye's holding court.
Yep.
That doesn't work when you have 2 quote unquote alphas in the room. I just, man. Okay. So this goes to show you how bad the Kardashians screw people up. I mean, look, they first got Bruce Jenner.
Yep.
Which is now Caitlyn Jenner. And now they've got Kanye. Kanye's gone nuts. But I was actually kind of excited. I thought maybe he had turned over a new leaf. I thought we were good. I thought, like, maybe if I ran into Kanye after I heard about this, that maybe we could be like homies or something. But no.
I have no idea.
Kanye is now holding what he calls church service.
Okay.
Okay. Or Sunday services. Now, they are exclusive musical worship gatherings for the rich and famous.
What?
Yes. They are held in a field in Calabasas, California, or in some sort of indoor studio that's always saturated with bright, colorful lights. And really good gospel choir runs through some gospel songs and a lot of Kanye West songs.
Oh, man.
Uh-huh. Yes.
He's starting a church?
Apparently, I don't know. Like, I don't know what he is. Just remember that Hollywood is always about you find your own way to truth. Okay.
Right.
You've got to preface it with that, because I think that's what this is.
Right.
And there's a movement in Hollywood right now where people are starting to hold services on Sunday And it's just more to build community than it's actually to worship anything in particular.
So it's like the Universalist, or is it Unitarian, whichever one it is?
Unitarian Universalist, if I understand this, and we may actually have some who are listening, and so I don't want to say it wrong, but to my understanding, what I've read about the Unitarian Universalists is they kind of have anything goes almost.
Well, I know that they bring in like different speakers from different viewpoints. And
stuff, so I've seen in one of the local Unitarian churches in Vermont that I was looking up, they would invite in, like 1 week would be a Methodist minister, the next week would be a rabbi. Yeah, exactly. So, so they're in a perpetual state of searching.
Right. Authors, artists,
but unlike the Unitarian Universalists, I don't think these folks are actually searching.
Right. They're just kind of creating their own space.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of celebrities. That being said, there's a lot of celebrities in Hollywood who do go to like Hillsong, Bayside, up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
San Francisco, Sacramento area, up there.
Right.
So some celebrities go there. I mean, Justin Bieber, for instance, as crazy as he is, he's been hanging out with a pastor from Hillsong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's life change there, but he's made a lot of good changes in his life since he's been hanging out with the Hillsong pastor. So I don't want to mock all of Hollywood on this.
Right.
However, this does not seem to be a church at all. This is a quote from Gia Tolentino, a staff writer at the New Yorker, says, with Kanye, it's always been this very complicated dance, and whether he's worshiping God or subsuming, I don't even know what that word is, subsuming God to his own ends. He grew up a Christian. He's spoken about that. There's always a sense that though he might worship God, but never serve him, it's always seemed like God in the end would always serve him. It's almost like what Tim said today in church. We were talking about money in church. You know, are we going to be ruled by money, or are we going to? How did he say
money
that?
Rule our faith?
Yes,
or let faith
rule our money. There you go. Mm-hmm. And so the question is like, Tim gave the example this morning of, you know, all of a sudden the red lights come on behind him, and we're like, God, please don't let him give me a ticket because, you know,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And so we're praying that God would justify our needs for money.
Asking God to,
right,
serve money.
So same situation here is, you know, the motivation seemingly is critically wrong. One of the things that really disturbs me is they're immediate to jump on Kanye West and say he's mentally disturbed because he supports Donald Trump.
Right.
Or has past supported him. And that, I think, is very disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of crazy people who actually have some decent views.
Yeah.
And by crazy, I mean people who are having mental challenges.
Yeah.
I'm not meaning that in a derogatory or mean way.
There is always a nugget of truth mixed in.
Right.
Somewhere, regardless of where you are.
Right.
Or who
absolutely.
You
are. Absolutely. It's just such a weird, like, there's a lot of people gathering.
So it's happening already.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
But doesn't that just show
January
the void?
6th, this is Kim Kardashian tweeted, our new Sunday service is starting. Check out the rehearsals on my Instagram stories. Week after week, Kim and attendees have begun sharing snippets of Sunday service on social media. And so it's exclusive, I guess it's by invitation only.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of celebrities and folks that they want there.
But doesn't it go to show that there is a void there that they're trying to fill?
Yes. Oh, without a doubt.
Lives,
yeah.
You know,
most of it's music. Kanye is the head of the service. So I guess he's the pastor.
He's the master of ceremonies.
Yes. Yes, the host, maybe. I guess it started in the Kardashian West household. Just hearing music at our Sunday service was super inspiring. See you next Sunday. I mean, there's videos from the service. Can't play them due to copyright issues. The goal is to be able to communicate and love effectively. Just such a baffling thing. So anyways, yes, it goes to speak to the void that needs to be filled. I mean, what? Unfortunately, that void can't be filled with anything other than God.
Right.
But they will unfortunately continue to be searching for ever until they find him. So.
And we're going to build that wall. It's going to be a great wall. And let me just tell you, Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Never, ever give up. Don't give up. Don't allow it to happen. If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
Just when I think that we could possibly make it through an episode without talking about the president, we can't. Absolutely can't.
No.
Oh, boy. Next article takes us to Sunland Park, New Mexico. There is a group there that raised millions of dollars on a GoFundMe campaign, and they have broken ground to build their own stretch of border wall. Now, this is on private property.
Okay.
Which is, I have no problem with.
No,
that's what they want to do.
Whatever they want to do.
Whatever they want to do. This has not been obtained by. Eminent domain. This has not been obtained by any nefarious ways that the government would typically use to take over property to build a wall.
They're just putting a wall on their land.
This is they want to build a wall, and so they have land and they're building a wall. Very, very interesting. GoFundMe.
How long of a stretch is it?
Apparently, I'm not sure exactly. I believe so far to date they have a half-mile of wall finished.
Oh wow!
$6 to $8 million for that half mile.
Wow.
Which is incredible, and that just goes to show you that's where my disagreement comes in with putting a wall in.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the need for border security. I have no issue with that.
Right.
But when it comes to building a wall, it's going to cost so much. We have 2,000 miles of border there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So think about that. 6 to 8 million. So that's 16 million. Just say it's 10 million. Just say it's 10 million.
Yeah.
How much is that? Is that trillions now? Just say it's 10 million. Let's see, pulling out the calculator here. 10 million for 1 mile. So he times it by 2,000 miles. That's $20 trillion.
Yeah.
Think about that one. $20 trillion.
Yeah, when it costs, a private owner that much, it's going to be expensive because the government price would be
the government price
more.
would be at least that. So, and that's only based on $10 million a mile.
Right.
Which we all know that the government can't do anything cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. So yeah, I mean, there you have it. Projects moved really quickly. I guess so they've got half a mile done.
So are they basically just making a statement? That seems like a lot of money to make a statement.
They have $20 million in donations, so it looks like they're going to get a mile done.
Their wall is going to be pretty pointless if it's not connected to anything else.
So here's the thing. I don't have a problem with walls in urban areas because there are quite a few urban areas along the border.
Yeah.
What I do have an issue with is that when we're talking about the desolate expanse...
Yeah.
Which exists along many, many hundreds, if not 1,000 miles of that border.
Yeah.
Where there is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
We don't need walls. We need surveillance.
Yeah.
We need invasive surveillance. And secondarily, that needs to be coupled with we're vetting people who make it through.
Right.
And we are not just releasing them into New York, which is what happened a couple months back, or a couple weeks back. My dad was saying down in Florida that they are releasing them in the Florida area as well.
Yeah.
Illegals, just because there's nothing they can do with them.
Yeah.
Nothing they can do with them. They're flying them out of Texas, dropping them off.
Yeah.
And,
But I guess my point was for these private owners, isn't it kind of a huge waste of money?
I would argue yes, but I think...
Because if that wall is not connected to anything else or, nothing, what's the point? I
think to your point, though... Oh, yawn, boy. I think to your point, though, it's to make a statement. It's to issue a huge statement saying, hey, watch this.
And I mean, it's not like it's all their own money because it's through a GoFundMe. But that's just insane to me. It's like I would never spend that much money just to make a statement.
So, okay, so here's this interesting thing. They are claiming that the wall connects two 21-mile sections of existing fencing.
Okay.
And that, according to the Border Patrol, it's the number one most important mile to close. And the tough terrain left it very low on the government's list to close up.
Okay, so it is actually joined. So that's makes more sense then.
Yeah, it's actually what they are using it to do. I mean, in that case, I am a fan. That's cool.
Good for them.
Typically the main access areas are just outside the urban cities.
Right.
Because they base in the urban cities or where there's a big urban city across the border somewhere across the border. And that's where they meet up with the traffickers who traffic them across the border. Or, claim to be trafficking them across the border and then send them with drugs and whatever else.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting. So yeah. Another interesting thing. We either now have or now are having I don't know if we've actually done it yet. No, in fact, we haven't done it yet. As of Sunday, June 2nd, we currently don't have, but we are threatening 5% tariff on Mexican imports on June 10th.
Right.
Now, remember, we are already doing is it 25% tariff on Chinese goods?
I have no idea what the numbers are right now.
It looks like, we are raising it to 25% from 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a fan of tariffs. I mentioned this a couple shows ago.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of tariffs when you still have property taxes and income taxes.
Right.
And sales tax. Because a tariff is just a tax by another name. Now, I did some thinking today, right, about this whole issue, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking there's a little bit bigger dynamic than just declaring it a tax, okay? Because the government is using this in a way to not get the goods. Consumers are not required to buy those goods from China or Mexico.
Right.
U.S. consumers could buy those goods from other countries.
Yes, they could.
If there are other countries are producing them.
Right.
Odds are it's going to be more expensive. And then you have the ethical conundrum, okay? You have the ethical conundrum of buying stuff from China and from Mexico.
Right.
I've been to Mexico. I've seen Mexico, what it looks like. Those people do not have much money.
Right.
The people who are living in the slums of Mexico working in these factories are literally living in slums and working in the factories at cut rates.
Right.
I think there's an ethical consideration that has to be made there with buying from Mexico and buying from China. China, child labor.
Yeah.
Sweatshops. I think that has to be consideration. I know that that's not why the president has decided to do the tariffs, but that has to be a consideration of why we're sending our money and where we're sending our money to certain places.
I mean, even if you look on Amazon, there's so many like Chinese sellers and stuff, and they're usually super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And like just for example, kids' clothes.
Oh yeah.
It's cheaply made too, though.
Right.
And
so take for instance, we had friends in Saipan, right?
Yeah.
And our friends in Saipan said that there were sweatshops. This was until recently, until a couple years ago, I believe. I think they shut down. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Give the message line a call, 1-402-799-1811, and let us know if I'm totally wrong on this. But I think the sweatshops closed up a couple years back.
Yeah.
But until that point, there were like Chinese sweatshops on the island of Saipan, which is U.S. territory.
Right.
Or U.S. What do they call it? It's a it's not
Commonwealth.
Not Commonwealth. It is a
It's not territory.
Not territory.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm totally drawing a blank. What is it called? It is a U.S. sovereign. No, that's the wrong thing too. Man, I feel like an idiot here.
It's just like Puerto Rico too, right?
No, because Puerto Rico is a territory, I believe.
Okay.
This is like an independent island that
it is a Commonwealth.
Oh, it's a common. Okay,
yeah, it does say Commonwealth. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. Saipan's a Commonwealth, a little island north of Guam in the Pacific. Now, I believe I was being told that just until a couple years ago they had a bunch of sweatshops there,
right?
Where they'd bring in Chinese workers.
Right. Chinese
workers would get paid dirt money to make these products, but because it's not a U.S. territory, it does not fall under minimum wage laws, and because it's not a state, it doesn't fall under minimum wage laws.
Yeah.
So these sweatshop workers were working there for super cheap, and there was nothing that could be done about it.
Right.
And so I think it does have to be an ethical consideration.
Can they say made in the USA?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Yes, they can. Part of me thinks that it was Reebok or something. I'm not gonna. Don't quote me on that. But it was a major shoe manufacturer had a factory there. And so, I guess my point, getting back to my main point, tariffs, I think they are a tax by another name because ultimately the citizens end up paying in the short term.
Right.
But I think in the long term, there could be good implications from them.
Change economy.
It could change economies. It could force other good economies to cut prices.
Yeah.
It could force, but then again, no one else has the encouragement to cut prices. They'll just raise the prices.
Right. It could create business opportunity.
So
like within the country, if there's a void in the market.
But that's not free market, though. That's not free market.
Right. That's the government.
That's the government picking the winners and the losers again.
Meddling.
Right. Right. And so I have an issue with that. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I can't get behind it. So this was interesting as I was researching this whole thing. Trump wanted to do some tariffs on Australia as well. They were going to impose tariffs because Australia is importing, I would say tons, but it's literally more than tons. They have a surge in Australian aluminum flowing into the market over the last year.
Interesting.
And they want the U.S., I guess, to produce aluminum themselves. I guess so. This is a feigned attempt to boost the economy by using tariffs, I think. And I think this is all around on all the tariffs. So car manufacturer moves to Mexico.
Right.
Tariffs.
Well, I mean, even
cheap goods coming from China.
The Jettas are made in Mexico.
Jettas are made in Mexico, absolutely. And so it's really frustrating because at the same time I understand a little bit why it's happening. And I understand that he thinks that this will have an effect on trade policy, which it can, because if the tariffs go up, they're probably not going to sell as many goods because whenever the price of goods goes up, but it's still a tax on the American people. There's stuff that we're going to buy from China no matter what. And so I think it's going to hurt Either that or we're going to buy it from home and it's still going to be more expensive.
Right.
But then again, the ethical consideration behind it. I don't know. It's a very... We like to think of this as such a cut and dry issue. But politics and life and everything else, there is nothing cut and dry.
Yeah. And I mean, the way our economy is set up, we are so removed from the actual manufacturing process. You know, we don't know half the stuff about the products we buy.
No, and that disturbs me too. Now, granted, we are the front porch resident hippies here.
True.
And so it's nice to know what your stuff is being made of. You know, is it being soaked in formaldehyde before it arrives? You joke about that. Like, so there was a case a couple months back where they were testing jeans, and jeans coming in from out of the country had like formaldehyde in them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, that's crazy. It's just not right. So, I still think tariffs are an issue when we don't have what do you call it? When we still have property tax, income tax, and sales tax. It's just, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's just another sales tax. And the cost is going to get passed on to the consumer.
Yeah. And the sad part is, though, that I don't think people would change their buying habits easily.
No.
On their own.
Well, so think about it this way. We get in stuff from China at cut rates, okay? Most of the stuff in Walmart is China.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Most of the stuff in Target is China made. Doesn't matter where you shop. Most of the daily goods that we use is made out of the country. Many made in China.
Right.
So, do you think that's going to change much? I don't think it's going to change anything because wholesalers are buying this stuff in literally by the crate load.
Yeah.
They're getting this stuff in. Do you really think the prices at Walmart reflect the prices of the goods? I would almost guarantee you that price, by the time it reaches Walmart, is probably 50 to 70% higher than what you could actually get it from the factory or coming off the boat, like straight from China. Like if I ordered a crate, I know that because you can get on, is it Alibaba or whatever?
Yeah. And
you can literally buy like a pallet full of, widgets.
Random whatever, yeah.
Random whatever. Oh, so I was looking, I had this idea. No one steal this idea. And if you do, send me the prototype, okay? I wanted a baby mobile that instead of doing nursery rhymes, it like randomized classic rock. And like spun around with like guitars and stuff on it. I think it'd be awesome.
It's gotta exist.
It doesn't exist.
You've looked.
I looked everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
And anyway, so I was looking on, it was either Alibaba or one of the other sites that's out of China, right? I couldn't buy one of these programmable musical mobiles.
Yeah.
I had to buy them in like lots of 1,000. And if I bought them in lots of 1,000, they were less than $1 a piece.
Yeah.
Now you sit there and go into Bye Bye Baby or whatever the heck it's called. And you're going to pay what? $30 for a mobile? 25, $30 for a mobile?
Yeah.
And yet I can get that part for $1.50 or whatever.
Right. And all you got to do is program it.
And all I have to do is put in the music, which, I mean, it's a fascinating thing. So I don't think tariffs are actually going to hurt it that much on the goods level, but I think on the existential level, it may be very harmful to our society to do something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Did you see where Biden wants to take me to the back of the barn? Me. Some things in life you could really love doing.
I don't wear a toupee. It's my hair. I really am very smart.
I am a young, vibrant man. The time for empty talk is over. now arrives the hour of action. We will make America great again.
That's great.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Another Trump segment, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
This story, so we've been Mexico, we've been Australia, we've been China. Next story takes us to Japan. Now, this may be the funniest thing. And I don't even know if this is directly a Trump story or not. But the request came straight from the White House and was directed to the 7th Fleet, which is located in Japan. So Donald Trump headed to Japan.
Yeah.
Recently. I guess it was I guess he was going there for some I don't even know what event it was. Doesn't really matter what event it was. But the White House made the request to have the USS John S. McCain hidden from view during President Donald Trump's visit to Japan. Now, remember he had that whole spat with John McCain?
Yes.
When he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no real love for John McCain here on the show. I've been very vocal about that. But yeah, we won't stomp on a man after he's dead. But yeah, so they wanted the ship moved out of the photo op and where the president was going to be speaking.
Oh, man.
So yeah, remember he told McCain that he wasn't a war hero and that he criticized him after he died of brain cancer last August. Yeah, it was, it was pretty.
It's all about image,
right? So I'm betting this. I'm betting this did not come down from the top. I'm betting that Donald Trump did not request it. I'm betting this was someone on the staff that was like, "Oh,
we can't have that.
We need to get this ship moved or covered up or something before someone sees it and makes a photo opportunity out of it intentionally."
Right.
And so, yeah. John McCain is quoted to say back a couple months ago, or I guess 7 months after he passed away, he said, "I was never a fan of John McCain and I never will be. He was last in his class," according to a tweet. So, one of those things.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, Trump's that kind of guy.
I know,
I wouldn't
bombastic.
put it past him to be like, I'm not having that in mind.
I guarantee that it did not come from the top. Like I can't even imagine that. So they put a tarp over the name, and
they put a tarp
over the name. Eventually, they moved a boat in the way or something. And
oh man,
yeah, it didn't really so. Also, the
tarp to me is
the sailors
awful.
on the ship. The sailors on the ship were given the day off so that no one would see them walking around with their USS John McCain hats on.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just okay, whatever. All that said, where is that other article that I was looking at? Oh, just a random little fact here. We're going to the moon.
Yeah.
Or not the moon. We're going beyond the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to Mars. Trump doubled down on that statement the other day.
Yeah. We got a date?
No dates, of course. No dates. He was, I guess, I don't know if this was in China or whether it must have been in Japan or something. Anyways, he made it was when he was in Japan. He said, "Prime Minister Abe and I have agreed to dramatically expand our nation's cooperation in human space exploration. Japan will join our mission to send U.S. astronauts to space." Why are we not dealing with this on our own and sending our own astronauts to space? Anyways,
I don't know.
Beside the point. It says, "We'll be going to the moon. We'll be going to Mars very soon." So
that's awesome.
Anyways, of course, the AP decided to fact check it and says, not very soon. The U.S. will almost certainly not be sending people to Mars in its presidency, even if he wins a second term. Thank you, AP, for being so unbiased.
Yeah, during his presidency, that would be
a little rough.
A little rough, yeah. But
it's
the moon, maybe. I don't know.
The moon, maybe. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's. Would you get on a ship and go to Mars? It's a one-way trip.
Right.
It's a one-way trip. Would you get on a ship and go to Mars?
How long is the travel?
Like 3 months. You'll never be able to come back. You just won't. We don't have the infrastructure there to send anyone back. Would you come back? Or would you go?
Not at this stage in my life.
What stage in your life would you decide to go?
When my children are grown and gone.
See, I don't even know if I would do that then.
No?
No. Too many cool things on Earth that I haven't seen yet.
That's true. There's a lot to explore here.
So, you go to Mars, right? You have to live in a bubble your entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Or a spacesuit. Bubble or spacesuit.
It'd be a horrible...
There's no trees.
Yeah. But
there's no grass.
But you're making history. That's the only
There's no hunting. There's no fast cars.
You're just you and your thoughts.
And as I've said before, that's a very disturbing place to be left alone with. Yeah. I don't think I could do it. I just think it would be too
solitary.
I don't know if too solitary. Yes, solitary is solitary would be the question. I mean, or solitary would be the thing to say, because like when I'm out in the woods hunting, yes, I'm with my thoughts, but I am glued to every sound. Like I am listening, I am focused.
Yeah, there's stuff going on around you.
Absolutely.
You can't stand quiet. You'd go nuts.
No, I couldn't. And all you hear is wind.
Yeah.
And then the possibility of imminent death when your spacesuit ruptures.
Sounds peaceful except for that part.
There's nothing, though. There's absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Like, you walk out, you look at the mountain, same mountain you're going to see for the rest of your life.
Which means there's everything to create.
Or nothing, because there's nothing there.
Right.
But there's no resources. There's there's mineral resources, I guess.
It would be an adventure for sure.
I don't know. I think it's just crazy.
And there are people out there who would love it.
I'm sure there would, but I'm not going. Ain't gonna happen. Couldn't do it.
Guess I'm not going either.
I mean,
then.
I saw The Martian, and that was enough for me. And he somehow got off the planet. I don't know, man.
Even if you could go with me?
Depends. Is it just us?
My favorite word is the word.
We got an issue in America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country.
Back up, you creep.
And Bernie Sanders might run. Apparently, some folks really want to see a pot-smoking socialist in the White House. We could get a third Obama term after all.
So I didn't send you anything or tell you what this segment was going to be about.
No.
But at the risk of getting audited again.
Don't do it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, don't do
yes.
it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We own our own business, and under that business is multiple different businesses. Or I should say we own our own corporation. And so under that umbrella are several different businesses. The show included some housing inspection businesses and such. Other ventures that we have and that we pursue.
Yeah.
And so we've got our corporation, and we are constantly dealing with the IRS. I would say you easily spend probably 3 to 4 hours a month just dealing directly with the IRS.
I don't think it's that much.
You don't think it's that much?
No.
The problem is that it adds up real fast when we run into issues.
Stupid?
Well, yeah. So I think it averages out across a year. I would say it's about 4 hours a month. By the time you do taxes, by the time you do...
Yeah, I guess if
hour
you
a
count
week.
all the payroll.
The number of hours you spend on hold with the IRS, the number of times that we send back information to the IRS.
The IRS is bad on hold. The Social Security Administration, on the other hand,
is it
isn't
good?
bad at all.
Is it good?
Yeah.
So that's been our most recent saga. The last one was we got audited for the absolutely atrocious number of miles that I have to drive for my job.
Right.
Which they didn't believe the number of miles. They wanted proof of the miles, and then
they got it.
And then they said no. Then they wanted to only give us 50% of the miles for some weird arbitrary reason.
Like, what?
And we were like, heck no. And finally we talked to a manager who said, why is this person doing this? So that they fixed themselves. They fixed that themselves.
They did. Well, after hours and hours on the phone, yes.
Right.
And sending in stuff that,
did not really need to be sent in.
Yeah.
So this most recent saga, though, we had. So this is with the Social Security Administration. Is that correct?
Yes.
So not the IRS, but yet again, more government incompetence.
Yeah.
So Alyssa sends in what form was it?
It was the W-2s.
So it was our W-2s. We send a copy to the...
And they're handwritten because we only do 3 of them. So it's like...
We've got three employees total for our company. And 2 of them are virtually the same. In fact, they're exactly the same.
Except for the name.
They are exactly the same due to paying out salaries. And exactly the same. They get sent in the same envelope.
Yes, on the same page.
The same page.
Like,
on exactly the same page.
Connected to each other.
And we get told, no, I don't. We don't get told anything.
Okay,
I guess.
So I get a letter in the mail that says that...
Don't read it and don't give any self-incriminating information.
There is a discrepancy between what the IRS reported to be on our W-2s and what the W-3 reported to be on our W-2s and what the Social Security Administration processed to be on our W-2s of a round figure of just $5,000.
Okay.
And so I'm like, when I first got this letter way back.
And so we're thinking, oh boy, we have to pay $5,000.
No.
Oh, that's what I was thinking when you said it the first time.
No, that wouldn't have been.
And then I totally erased it out of my mind and walked away. So
yeah, and I mean, I looked into it and I was like, oh boy, did I make a mistake? And I look and everything adds up. Nope, I add together the totals on the W-2s and the total on the W-2s matches what the IRS and the W-3 state. And does not match what the Social Security Administration says they processed.
Okay.
So I'm like, how in the world did they get this random number that's $5,000 less?
That's right.
So I send in my supporting evidence, copy of W-2s and stuff.
Right.
With a note. And of course, our situation doesn't match any of the options on the letter they want us to send back.
Of course not.
Because there is no mistake. And I'm just like, I have no idea why you guys have the wrong number because the numbers we gave you are correct. And so I just, got a letter back months after.
Of course, because that's how the government works.
Yes.
Months. Just like with our mileage saga, we never received, we would always receive information like the day they wanted it sent, the day they required stuff sent back in. And then all of a sudden the clock would reset on us saying that
you have more time to
deal with this.
So I get another letter and it's identical to the first one.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it states, we received your material, but it didn't answer our question.
Folks, this is the first time I'm hearing this I did not realize there was a second letter. Makes me feel even better about the situation.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, obviously because they can't, read the stuff I'm sending them, I better call.
Okay.
So I call, and like I said, the waiting time was not very long, which was kind of nice. It was like 5-10 minutes.
Now, was this wasn't near the first of the month, so that's when all the IRS, that's when all the Social Security checks go out, I think. So
yeah, I have no idea, but yeah, apparently they weren't very busy. And I talked to the first guy, and he's like, well, there's got to be a discrepancy because, we had $5,000 less on the W-2s. And I'm like, I have the copies right in front of me. I sent them in to you. They add up to the correct amount. And so he takes like 10-15 minutes looking everything up. And finally he comes back and is like, oh, the one W-2 we reported as $5,000 less. It was processed as $5,000 less is what it says, what it states.
Now, remember, these are on the same sheet of paper.
They're on the same sheet. So the one they got right and the other one they got wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they what they did was they mistook a 9 for a 4.
Yep.
Which, I could see where if you have sloppy handwriting, that would be the case.
Which you don't.
Which I don't. And the irony is that the next number right after my 9 is a 4, which looks nothing like the 9.
Right.
And so I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Uh-huh. So of course they're going to fix this right there and then in the computer system.
Oh, you'd think that would be an option, because they have the copy right in front of them that they can read is the correct amount. But no, that's not what they can do.
They can do?
And so the guy's like, you have to send in a W-2C. So you have to correct your form.
You have to correct the form.
I have to correct my form, which is not incorrect.
Okay.
Because they screwed up.
Okay. Hold on.
But they have no way of correcting it themselves.
They make a mistake. They can't correct the mistake. And so then the citizen, the peon, has to then take the time, fill out a new form, fill out the paperwork, send it back in so they can then correct it?
Yes. And their excuse is, oh, it's handwritten, sometimes mistakes, sometimes it's illegible, and then you have to
sometimes it's illegible.
It.
Now, I did look at the W-2s to see, and they are not illegible.
Yeah. And it's funny because before he even looked anything up, he was like, oh, yeah, the only, if something would be illegible, they would send it back and they would request a better copy.
Right. Right.
Meaning he basically admitted that that wasn't the case here.
Yeah.
They just made a mistake.
Right.
And I mean, I can understand someone if they're staring at numbers all day that they punch something in wrong. I can understand that.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. If it was a person, I don't know if they have
the fact that you have
not.
to send in more paperwork.
I know. It's like they can't fix it. I have to make a correction to my form, which is not incorrect.
Right.
And that just guiles me.
That's just insane.
So I'm sending in a nice letter with my...
Good.
I don't
Good
know
for
if you read it.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Yeah.
Do I want to? I just want to let it fall where it falls.
Oh no, you want to read it.
Are we gonna get audited?
No.
Well, I don't know. I guess Social Security, can they audit us?
No.
Yeah. So
it's not the IRS.
Poo poo on them.
And the IRS thankfully had the right numbers. I guess it's ridiculous.
The more we deal with the government, the more I realize why people don't want to go into business.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I talked to the first guy and I didn't ask any questions and I hung up and I was like, no, this is stupid. I'm calling back and talking to them again because there should be a way for them to fix this.
Absolutely.
They have everything in front of them that they need. Like,
right.
He pulled it up.
Yeah.
He can see it.
Yeah.
And when I talked to the second lady, first one was a guy, second one time I got a lady, and she, I was like, I know it's not illegible. And you know how I know it? It's because they read the one right. And she's like, oh, let me take a look. And she's like, she realized how horrible it was. And I got the whole line, about, I don't make the rules, but...
Folks.
I was almost at the point of asking for a manager, but I decided to just let it be.
There are many people out there, probably some listening, who want the government to be in control of healthcare. There are people out there listening who think that the government should have extra regulation and more control over businesses. What are you thinking? These people are the most incompetent people on the face of this planet.
And like I've said, I've dealt with many other issues too, besides just the audit, where the IRS is screwed up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, it happens at least twice a year.
And I mean, I'm just like, I'm no qualified accountant or,
But the thing
like
is,
that.
Our businesses are small enough to where we don't need an accountant.
Yes, I know. But the fact that I know my numbers and how to do it better than the IRS, like, that scares me.
Well, they're not accountants.
No.
They're just the takers of the money.
But they should...
They're the tax collectors.
At least be good at math, you would think.
Hell. Wow. No. You don't have to be good at math. You don't have to be good at math.
To deal with numbers all day long?
All you have to do is be really good at taking other people's money.
Or following orders.
Yeah, well, there you go. So frustrating. I'm done. Absolutely done.
Thanks for getting my blood pressure up again.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And we are back. I still don't have a good science update. I need to come up with a science update. Yeah.
Intro.
Yeah. It's like if we were on the radio, like if we were like live on the radio, I could do like "He blinded me with science." The nice 80s song. That's a great song. We do that as an intro. There's a whole bunch of really good stuff we could use, but these copyright laws, guys, just kill us. It's like, see, the problem is there's no way to pay for it. Like,
no,
they have made no way for it to be possible to use music in a online only show.
Right.
So you have to be on the air, and then you can use it online.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the radio industry is colluding against internet-based programming. Anyways, totally beside the point. Totally beside the point. Are you familiar with the Marshall Islands?
Am I familiar with them?
Familiar with them?
As in,
you know what they are, know where they are?
I've never been there.
Do you know where they are?
Roughly.
Where? Tell me.
Southeast Asia area?
They're kind of nestled closer to Papua New Guinea, but between Papua New Guinea and Hawaii.
Yeah.
So Southeast Asia, kind of, but not really.
If you gave me a globe, I could find them.
Oh, it'd be easy to find. Yeah, exactly. It'd be easy to find. So are the Marshall Islands, are they independent now, or are they still Commonwealth?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. While you look that up.
All right.
Between 1946 and 1958, the United States tested 67 nuclear devices in the Marshall Islands, including 44 in Eniwetok Atoll, one of the nation's 29 coral Is it atoll? Atoll? Atoll. Atoll. It's an atoll. Atoll. An atoll.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a coral ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marshall Islands are home to only 6% of the number of tests that were conducted by the U.S. It took the brunt of more than half of the energy of the U.S. weapons testing because all the bombs there were super, super big. Much of the fallout is now entombed in the Runit Dome. And that is a dome they built. Basically, they had a crater. And they gathered up all this contaminated topsoil. And they piled it up. And then coated it in concrete.
Yeah.
And that's where they left it.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, it'll last, 60 years, 70 years, 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, time is ticking. And the Anitak atoll contains groundwater samples with radiation levels 1,000 to 6,000 times higher than those found in the open ocean.
The
government claims that the dome is not leaking into the ocean.
Right.
Into the lagoon.
They're saying that it's just remnants from testing?
Yes. Whether that is true or not is another question.
Yeah.
As I said, they've done tests, and the government claims that it's not dangerous, I guess. Our government claims it's not dangerous.
Right.
The problem is that they claim that the radioactivity on the Marshall Islands is fairly low. There are a few hot spots, but they're known to people, and people know to avoid them.
Yeah.
But one of the major issues is there's seafood and stuff that come out of those waters.
Right.
And it's like, you can't tell me the crabs know that they're not supposed to go into a certain area.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we might end up eating.
Well, they might end up eating. Yeah. So, visit to Runit last summer by the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times. They said there's no fence, no sign of warning to stay away or to avoid eating foods grown on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people had camped there and eaten the coconut crabs off the island. And it's like, oh man. Right. Oh man.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to get that news.
No, I mean, now, understandably, radiation exposure is not based on one-time event. It's based on the amount of exposure over a lifetime. So it's not like...
Right.
The problem is you've got these people living there.
Yeah.
And, they were told that it was safe to return there.
Right.
In 1980, after the U.S. government did 3 years of cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
So, I don't... Did you look it up?
Yeah.
Marshall Islands is not a U.S.
It is a republic.
It's their own republic.
Yeah.
I was getting confused because Wake Island, which is also considered part of the Marshall Islands, is controlled by us.
Yeah.
And so whether or not, who knows?
It says it's a United States associated state.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a minor outlying island.
Yeah.
It's got the longest. So Wake Island, just north of the Marshall Islands, has the longest strategic runway in the Pacific, and that is why. That is why we will not let it go.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
thought that was. Anyways, I thought that the whole thing there was very interesting.
Yeah, fascinating.
I wanted to bounce over to another science story real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even science; it's political. It's ridiculously hilarious. Assistant Energy Secretary Steven Weinberg, he said, as he was signing a treaty, I guess, or signing an order to export natural gas, he said, and I quote, "His agency is helping let molecules of U.S. freedom be exported to the world." Molecules of freedom.
U.S. freedom.
That's right. Mark Menez said he's an Energy Department official. They're expanding Texas facilities' export capacity. It's critical to spreading freedom gas throughout the world.
Okay.
I don't even know
what to think of that.
I mean, yeah, freedom gas.
Freedom molecules.
Look, they don't hit it out of the park every time, but every once in a while, this administration labels something hilariously awesome, and I mean, molecules of freedom. Oh yeah. Natural gas. I mean,
you can market anything.
That's right. You can. That is right. And most people buy it. But,
smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa.
That was a non-gendered person, Ken, and you just gave it a gender.
I tried this one chili and it set my mouth on fire, and I had to drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
All right, leave this guy alone with his poor, constipated poops. We're going to come back and talk about politics. That's what really matters here.
And no, we're not actually.
No,
we just couldn't. We couldn't do.
We're totally misleading.
We couldn't do this story though without doing the tombstone intro.
Yes, I mean, it needed it.
Absolutely needs it. Next story takes us to South Carolina. Union, South Carolina. Have you been there? I've been there before. It's
very likely that I've been there.
Yeah, I mean it's an upstate South Carolina. Pretty little town. Located it's south of Spartanburg, southeast of Spartanburg, I guess. It's a nice little mill town kind of area. Pretty, just kind of like city in the middle of nowhere, I guess you'd call it almost. It was cute little place.
Yep.
Well, South Carolina woman was arrested for attacking her husband with a glass jar. Why, you ask? Why? Because he stopped her from driving to an air-conditioned hotel with their children while she was intoxicated.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes. 28-year-old Leanne Teague was found passed out naked on the living room floor. And her husband's head was heavily bleeding.
Hey, you would have been naked too if it was really hot.
Yeah, no, I'm not casting that much judgment here. But perhaps the fact that she wanted to leave
while
drunk and naked
yeah,
was a little bit much with the children.
Mm-hmm.
Husband told officers she'd been drinking vodka and orange juice heavily after the home's air conditioner broke. When he stopped her from driving to the Quality Inn with their children, she allegedly hit him with a glass jar. Do you think it was the same jar she was drinking from? I'm having this.
Oh yeah.
I'm having this thought that she polished off the orange juice
and chucked it
and just nailed him with it.
Yeah. Hey, when she sobers up, she's probably going to thank him. I would hope so. For stopping her.
I don't know. You honestly can never tell. She was booked on charges of second-degree domestic violence. Bail is $2,500. I guarantee Big Papa bails are out.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a love story there. What gets it?
Yeah.
What goes through your head? I mean,
he could have just if he wasn't intoxicated, he could have driven them to the Quality Inn.
Well, so right, and I'm wondering. I'm trying to figure out, how did this happen, right? And all I'm thinking of is maybe he got home from work, he was tired, and all of a sudden she's just like, "I'm taking the kids and we're going to the Quality Inn." And she's been drinking, and he's like, "Oh, no. We'll just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. And she's like, no, I ain't waiting. And then,
Yeah.
Wham!
You can imagine.
I can see it. I can see it. South Carolina gets pretty hot. And if you don't have air conditioning,
nasty.
It's just absolutely disgusting.
Not fun.
Tombstone would absolutely agree on this. So
yep, he would.
It's just, it's so sad. Like, man.
Yeah.
Sad. Well,
thankfully it hasn't gotten that hot here yet.
No, it hasn't. We're going to leave it there. We're just going to leave it there. You can't go any further than that. I mean, it's just, you can't.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to see is me like naked sprawled out on the kitchen floor. So
who says that's the last thing I want to see?
Whoa. Okay, so on that note, we're done. 1402799 is our message number. We did not get to that message, unfortunately, tonight. I
think it's a better one
hoped.
with Tombstone.
You think it's better with Tombstone?
Yes, because I believe it has to do with dads.
It has to do with that? Okay, very cool. Very cool. So we will hold on to that until next week. 14027991811 is the message line number. Call us anytime, 24/7. Leave us a message. We will play it on the air. I'm even throwing down the gauntlet today, okay? Call us, leave a message. We will not listen to it until we're on the air.
That's kind of scary.
But we can grab it if there's any profanity or anything. We can absolutely grab it.
So keep it civil, folks.
Keep it civil, but just know we can edit. We can fix it if we have to. Check us out on Facebook, www.facebook.com/myfrontporchshow. I think that's the Facebook. www.thefrontporchshow.com. We will see you guys next week. Until then, have a blast and enjoy the Front Porch Show. Later.